Thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rise Pop-Up Poetry. Thank you for joining us. In line with the conference's theme of building new paths, I am thrilled to introduce three dynamic rising poets and social activists who are empowering not just their peers, but also the communities around them. Without further ado, please welcome our first reader, Dina Klarrise, pronouns she, her, a poet and queer Filipina-American immigrant. She serves as poetry and issue editor for the online literary magazine Marias at Sampaguitas, as well as editorial director for the indie micropress Sampaguita Press. Her debut chapbook, Hand Spun Rosaries, is coming out in summer 2022. Please welcome Dina Klarrise.
Hello, thank you, Aileen, for that lovely introduction, and thank you for inviting me to this space. And I also wanted to thank Tanya for organizing everything and bringing us here. Hi, everyone. I have three pieces today. My first one is called Kababae Mong Tao, and I apologize to my fellow Filipino Tagalog women and girls who may have heard this, but it's kind of a reprimand in Tagalog, which means you are a girl, basically. Kababae mong tao, they said when I was too messy, too large, too loud, taking up more space than what their God assigned me. Babae, girl. Words transformed into an outline of what I'm supposed to be. Luckily enough, I have always colored with reckless abandon, my hands holding the markers tight, tearing bits of paper as I scribble away the black lines, defenseless against my permanent color. Kababae mong tao, I was told, when already I felt my body waging war against me. A monthly bloodbath, mounds and curves and jiggly bits emerging, like the volcano inside the ocean of myself, was raging to transform the surface. And so I grew into this strange earthly body, enraged and distraught that despite the lava inside, tectonic plates beating against my torso, despite the terrifying majesty of being, a person could be wrangled up and boxed into babae, and whatever the hell that is or isn't. No direct translation, but it's a universal thing. This feeling that we are to prod and squeeze ourselves into babae's mold. Language is hard, but I try. Kababae, girl. Mong tao, your personhood. A phrase to shelve me neatly among the rest. Quiet, docile, neat, and obedient. Because who are we meant to be but a piece of flesh grown from Adam's rib? And who is God, after all, to say what I can or can't do, whom I must thank for something I did not ask for or want? According to the books, written and collected, of course, by man, I was created as an afterthought, an accessory born to keep his loving creation from loneliness. If he were real, it would be his own fault anyway, for giving me a brain and a thumping heart and fists to beat away the outlines of who I should be. And that was my first piece. My second piece is called She and I, and it's about coming to terms with who I am and accepting whatever that means. And then, of course, there's loving me. In all her faults and shortcomings, through every doubt and uncertainty. I've learned that love is more than carving out and giving away. There's building and fortifying, shaping the marvelous city, capital of that self, who has passed through tumultuous storms to be here and stand, weathering time. They say my body's a temple, unaware that she stands on faults, the middle of raging, moving, swinging plates, throwing up the ground, swallowing her over and over as the limestone crumbles. And I run to every corner with plaster, filling in the cracks and holes, praying to that God somewhere that she listen and save her ruin and save me. And there are days when she hears and stills the earth and sends sweet rain, whispering a gentle breeze, hushing all, as I listen, not quite alone to her prayer back to me. Thank you. And my last poem is called To the Ates in My Life. And it's sort of a love poem to ates, which means older sister in Tagalog. And it is exactly like how Aileen invites me and these lovely poets to this space where we're always extending hands and helping each other come up. And I dedicated this to my mom, Davina, my aunt Daisy, and my friends, Kiana and Maria. As the youngest and only girl, ate meant cousins I saw on holidays, glamorous and distant, power in teenage wit and Sephora-lined smiles. Ate is the divine and the flower to little siblings, the head, shoulders, knees, and toes of a family. Surrogate mother when mother is out or away or gone. Wiper of asses and tears. Cook, lender, caretaker extraordinaire. She shoulders weight of time past and coming, inheritance of burden and love. Ate is the person I missed but never knew. Portrait of the artist as Bunso, the youngest ever lonely in a family of boys, seeking in shadows behind tangled-haired Barbies lined in counsel, a sister to braid whispered understanding into hair. To a girl craving response deeper than laughter, who picked cherry blossoms from tan bark to place upon the altar when asking for someone who should have come in the negative space before. Ate was a revelation when I found her and friends, placing in their hands my tears and laughter. Portrait of the artist as friend, no longer alone, only sometimes lonely. Friends with the world where attention is like gold. Chikahat is communion. Chismis is Eucharist. Ate in the trust that we will never speak our secrets but to one another. I too am ate, trying my hardest to look cool, brushing wit and kindness into strands of carefully careless beauty, but still open enough to hold secrets and shoulder burdens. I look to Ma and crave, despite the tired in her eyes, her strength and responsibility, and I feel it passed on. The youngest and only girl is still the oldest girl. But among the sea of ates, I am ever stronger, ever more loving, and ever more loved. And that was my last piece. Thank you so much to everyone.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Dina. Just beautiful. Our next poet is Keiki Leni Ward, a spoken word poet and Ravenswood Middle School alumna. Her work is featured by the Ravenswood Education Foundation as part of their Giving Tuesday campaign. Her poem, Mirroring Sea, is about sea level rise and is featured in the San Mateo County Youth Eco Poetry Project. Please welcome Keiki Leni Ward.
Hi everyone, I just want to say, Dina, that was honestly like so beautiful and so touching. So yeah, this is my first piece that I'm gonna read today, and it's called Linen Museum, and I hope you guys enjoy. This is my comfort. This is my peace. This is how I cope. I'm a phenomenal writer. I am a divine creator. I'm the wind that howls in between the stars that are my dreams. I'm the creator of the flourishing, alluring meadows of stars that make love to each other. I'm the shadow that pulls the sun in for a mirroring kiss. I'm the portrait painted by strokes of self-love. Each stroke is delicate and feminine with masculine embedded in my canvas. I'm the art procreated by the oil paint that fuses together, betrothed by the stars. I'm the sun who finds this finely crafted aptitude brought out of solitude and into her presence, where she firmly kisses me in capes of stars and hair from gold, draping me in the ever so finest linen, crafted by the stars and spun on the wheel by my ancestors. It is the personage of this ever so fine creation, Black life, made with the finest paint brushes, dipped in the rich oil paint of history created by my ancestors. They passed down the canvas to me, and I am merely the painter. Thank you. And then I will do one more piece, and it's called Mirroring Sea. Yeah. um, Please don't forget us as the tides rise over our islands and wipe away our emotions and drown our throats. Please don't forget us. My ancestors speak in their native language that sounds like water, and their sandy voices that engrave themselves into the sand and build the very foundation for this land. Don't forget us as the stars slowly start to disappear, leaving us lost at sea looking for our home. Our ancestors spoke to the sky and blessed the land. In the sky, the sun would open up like a refreshing window for the soul, and the stars would open up to us like the eyes of our own spirituality. Yet the ocean spoke to us in a surrounding crowd of whispers and danced as many different truths that we had to face. A true reflection of ourselves that we are blind to. As the water rises and hides my tears, drowning my overlooked throat, I pray that the stars may reach out to me and guide me home. I pray that my ancestors can teach me. I pray that my lost language will find me and soften my tongue, bearing the language of freedom and the sweet, sappy fruit of knowledge. I pray that I will still be able to go home. The ocean that brought us here wishes to take us back. Slowly, the ocean takes her hand over my people and pulls us back, taking what is hers. The blurring reflection of us all that we took too much and now the ocean wishes to take back. The ocean isn't just a reflection of ourselves, but rather the confrontation of human limits and certain moral greed. She holds us close and the ocean kisses our foreheads as she carries our ancestors away and our home day by day. The stars comfort us, and the moon carries us into another lifetime, this time where the ocean speaks to us in the voices of our people and allows us to stay. Come back for me as the stars and the moon. I wish for my home to come back to me, and I pray that the ocean may allow us the chance to understand her and ourselves. Thank you. Share.
So powerful. Thank you, Keiki Leni. That final poem is actually Keiki Leni's call to action and love letter to San Mateo County. To those who do not know, San Mateo County is ground zero in California for sea level rise. Thank you again, Keiki Leni. And finally, I would like to introduce Zoe Dorado, a 16-year-old spoken word poet and musician. Her most recent work can be found in the Bigger Picture Project's Survival Pending Revolution campaign, a poetry film collaboration between Youth Speaks and the UCSF Center for Vulnerable Populations. She is part of the Bayanihan Youth Group of Filipino Advocates for Justice and was named the inaugural Youth Poet Laureate of Alameda County in 2021. Please welcome Zoe Dorado.
Thank you, Aileen. And oh my gosh, Keiki and Dina, I'm like, I think I said in the comments that Dina's poetry reminds me just like of I guess like really intimate, and I think Keiki's poems remind me just like of like movement and desire. And I just think your guys' poetry is so beautiful. So thank you for sharing. So I'm going to share two poems today. Both of them are about my mom, who's a nurse. She works at Eden Hospital. These were like commissioned by the SCIU UHW, which is like a labor organization or a labor union for healthcare workers in California. So let's see, I'm trying to figure out which one I should read first, but okay, I'll read this one. This is something I wrote last night, actually. This is called What Are the Consequences of Silence? And these are like after the questions from Banu Kapil Ryder's The Vertical Interrogation of Strangers. If the consequence of movement is stillness, eventually there is rest on the couch. My mom lifts her head to sink deeper until her eyelids unravel. I imagine I am horizontal, like the world is bending just to lay me down again, and me, still reaching to pull this lined heartbeat closer. A hospital room beating as feet shuffle and run back and forth through the floor outside. Tell me the vitals are good enough. I want to unhook these tangled cables from the monitor until the crest of its waves lift me out of the water. Say, woman, and I'll tell you that a rebirth always comes in a release of breath. Drenched and heavy with ocean, spit, and womb, she brings it dripping from her hair into the house every day. trickling down from her mouth to mine. Give me an entrance to understand this soundless dialogue. Track the lineage of movement until it catches you, at the front line, at burnout, at hours that stretch and curl around your body until it becomes a part of you, walking. Because everything has to be alive or compensated these days. Because the consequence of work is exhaustion, and the consequence of exhaustion is going home again. Home, as in I thought this as a place for rest. But no mother gets compensated in this unnamed sacrifice, because Florence Nightingale's nerves were also in fact frayed. My nerves are frayed and every little thing becomes infuriating, as in, I don't like it when your sister talks back. I don't like it when you talk back. I am listening to everything you say, and it is so loud. When they tell you to pray only to what they put on a pedestal, give you an ode to your endless reservoir of patience and forgiving, who they name the source of calm at work, like angel, like angelic nurse and mother and woman always at work. How much can you pack into your shift before you lose your shit to keep moving, not recognizing that the consequence of movement is stillness? Eventually, I say woman, and I'm not trying to put you at the end of some kind of altar, but I'm still trying to reach towards you. And so ode to your focus and dexterity and drive towards more than keeping people hopeful and inspired. Ode to action. Ode to unions, the ones that counter narratives of putting you on a pedestal. Ode to everything beyond images of perfect womanhood and perfect girlhood. And so ode to loudness and quietness and the spectrum that holds both ends like arms, reaching out to you, holding you, right there. Because the consequence of silence is two people breathing each other in, is mom on the couch, is sleep. And the consequence of sleep is waking up. And the consequence of waking up is living, knowing you are able to rest. Thank you. And so the next poem is also about my mom. And this is something I created, I think, like in November. This is like when the Delta variant was like really high. And I was able to interview other healthcare workers. Some were like lift technicians, some were respiratory therapists, but the California healthcare workers I interviewed were named Dolly, John, Gisela, and of course my mom. So this is something I wrote a little earlier, and it's called When I Asked My Mom How Her Day Was. If I wasn't so sure you'd sigh at this split look, this cracked question, one riddled with hook eyes that cling to every fraction of a day that asked too much of you, you might as well summon up the gods of the new cycle that commented on your own face. Strained, they said, I am watching you from the bird's eye, and I can trace the path you make from parking lot dark, patient crying into dark, dark in human heat, dark too cold to hold on to me, to hallway running, and elevator breathing, and praying regardless of who in the room still believes in God. Back to home driveway, because nothing else could camouflage better than the night framing your body at the open door, and I am not trying to make your entrance beautiful. This frame I captured is liminal. I do not want to let the bugs in, and it isn't even me who was looking per se, but her child around the corner who just learned how to eavesdrop. An exchange caught between demanding and apologetic, like, are the hospitals war zones, or what do you mean by staffing shortages shifting surge after surge in volumes variant meant to shock your body whole. And so, look how eager my hands are to undress the weight you carried into the house. I will cleanse your clothes until you feel clean again and again. I don't know how to talk to you about this, or if I even should. So suddenly, the kid is saving this confession till the narrator leaves the room. The stop-motion picture cutting to each of their leavings, cut to the mother, cut to the child, cut to the nurse compartmentalizing what she chooses to share, a respiratory therapist ringing a response into an ear too delicate to name itself listening. Because I only want to hear your voice. I don't care about the way it bends and hesitates. I swear, though, really, I am daughter enough to remember what feeds you whole. Because whose body can know better than to coil a mouth into a passive apology? red-lipped liar. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting you were also a girl once. Maybe she plays the piano or wants to become a cheerleader or always forgets to call her mom back, but I see her through her own reflection and she is asking to be held again. So, reverse the weight and now you are being lifted by the lift technician. And the physical therapist is walking you through the doorway. I am only here to not let you forget how to breathe. I'm returning respiratory to your syntax. I am no savior. Do not put pain on a pedestal. We have avoided the aftermath excessively. Delta as an aperture, as an organism entering your body, as in 92% of all new infections in our country, as in it will not go away if we close the door. So I'm looking at you straight in the eyes. We are all the subject of the sentence. The action only requires us to pay attention. And so the object receives the looking, recasts the phrasing, says, I am not trying to make your entrance beautiful. I am just saying I miss you. I am just saying thank you for making it home. Thanks.
So beautiful. Thank you, Zoe. Before we end, let me just ask each of you what gives you hope or what inspires you. Maybe Zoe, you can answer first.
Oh, wow. I think like there's a certain thing about, I'm thinking about like what Tony K. Bombara said about art is that like the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible, and I think that art and poetry, like something that's so, I guess, intimate and like emotionally driven, and something that like grounds people into like seeing each other's humanity is like really necessary in order to sort of like push change and to like actually get things going. I think, I don't know, for like nurses, and like I read this other poem about my mom which talks about how like Filipinos make up 4% of the nursing population in the US, but 31.5% of nurse deaths from COVID-19. And I think like a lot of statistics can like sort of bog down like the fact that like these are actual people's like lives. But I think like through poetry and through art and through like something that is more accessible than like reading some like article which has like a lot of words, I think bringing people into a space where they can like actually like look at themselves and see themselves in like other people's words and like I guess like name a feeling is like hopeful to me. I think like a lot of youth poets, especially like through Youth Speaks, which is an org that I'm part of, like through like open mics and like poetry slams, there's something just like really beautiful, especially that like now we're in person, like we're sort of like slowly moving out of this pandemic, and I think that also brings me hope. So just like overall being in spaces of like art and spaces of poetry and spaces of like community, like when I'm watching like a poet perform, like I'm crying, I'm laughing, and I'm like wanting to like to hold the person like next to me. And I think like that sort of like community and like that sort of intimacy that's formed through like the communal experience of experiencing art gives me hope. And I think that's what I would say. But yeah.
And what a powerful way to tell your story and your mom's story. And what is poetry but this great humanizer that connects all of us. What about you, Dina?
So, something that gives me hope, and what I've found having worked in the publishing community and also being a part of the poetry community, like Zoe said, is just the community and the kindness we extend. I first learned about shine theory this year when I read a book called Big Friendship by Aminatu Sow and Anne Friedman. And they highlight the importance of investing time, energy, and resources back to our friends and peers. And I think this is something we live by in these communities, is because we found that friendship, generosity, and kindness go beyond just feeling like you're doing something good. They can be really powerful and political tools in extending these resources and giving space to people who have not been welcomed before. I think, and we see it in the publishing community and also in so many different industries, that the status quo still is very white and very male a lot of the times. So having these groups of women and these groups of people of color willing ourselves into being and just willing our creations and our art into existing, I think is what's given me a lot of hope these past couple of years.
Thank you for that, Dina. We often talk about equity these days, and equity is just understanding each other, right? And it's all about building community. What about you, Keiki, Leni?
Sorry, would you be able to ask the question again? I just need to like visualize it just a little bit.
So I wanted to know what gives you hope, or what inspires you.
What gives me hope is the forgotten. When I say the forgotten, I mean my friends' shoes that hang off power lines. My feelings are written in Sharpie all over them. It's like being on the other side of the ramp, and all my hope and aspirations are written in our polluted skies. Well, Palo Alto, on the other hand, they get to see all the clear skies and all the clear views. But what gives me hope are people who have to make way and have to create a space for themselves, like this safe space that we're in right now. It's the people who have to fight super hard just to be in spaces like this. And like hope is also like gratitude too. And it's just constantly like reminding yourself like what you're here for, and like reminding yourself about the world around you. So yeah, I just want to say I'm super thankful for Dina and Zoe. Zoe, I love the way you describe things. It's so like, oh my gosh, I was just imagining it in my head. And then like Dina, the way that you talk, your voice is so soothing, but your words are just so powerful. And I'm just grateful to be here with everyone. So y'all give me hope. This space gives me hope. And when I say the forgotten, I mean those who are oppressed by society and often just kicked to the curb. But here, we're seen and they are seen. Y'all give me hope. Thank you.
Well said, Keiki, Leni. Thank you for the way you are honoring your community, the Pacific Islander community, the Black Poets community, and East Palo Alto as well. Well, you all inspire me and give me hope. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you check out this afternoon sessions, including the roundtable networking at 1 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Take care, Ayas.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, poets.